But I need you to understand that if you're stuck in your heartbreak pain, it's because you're not accepting and acknowledging the fact that what has happened was meant to happen for you, not to you. And that you're not the victim, but you're the victor. And that was hard for me to accept. But everything in life happens for you, not to you. And at the moment of heartbreak, it is a moment in time where the rug of life feels like it was stripped out from underneath of you. What is up, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Honey, I'm Home. Today, we're going to be talking about the 3 steps that you need to take in order to move on from your heartbreak, your breakup, separation, or divorce. But before we give you that information, I would love, and appreciate, this is the season of giving, and what better way to give back than to go over to wherever you're currently listening to the podcast app, maybe pause it, and leave a review on your Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast app, because that is what's going to help me and this podcast reach more hearts, more homes, and change more lives. It's free to do, and I would love to read your review to get feedback on, everything that you're listening to. And the part of the journey of being a coach, an online coach more importantly, is sometimes you don't get the interaction that you would love to receive or the feedback that you'd love because you feel as if you partaking and listening is enough. It's not enough, because what fulfills me is your feedback, good and or bad, because the bad feedback helps me to become better, and the good feedback just builds me up to continue to progress and to move forward. I never ask of you for anything other than to leave reviews so that this podcast can reach more hearts, more homes, and more lives, and we can continue to change and make this world a better place for everyone involved. My friend, today is a topic that I absolutely love to talk about, because it is a topic in which I have been studying since 2015, heck, almost 10 years now, which is crazy to think about. And in those 10 years, I have been able to achieve a lot of success, personally. It doesn't need to be just financially, but personally. For example, I wrote a book on the big 3, which is all about how to build a better relationship with yourself, others, and God after you go through a heartbreak, breakup, separation, or divorce. And it's going to empower you to understand the steps that you can take to rebuild back a relationship with yourself, with others, and with God, especially when you feel like the relationship with yourself is absolutely crap, meaning that you just don't feel confident, happy, hopeful, you don't feel significant, you don't feel important, you don't feel loved. And then with others, you don't even want to open yourself back up to others or to love again, because love is what you feel like hurt you. And with God, because I believe God is the essence, the foundation to everything in life. And if you want to do a double finger up to God and the universe, and just be like, you know what, I don't believe that God or the universe supports me, and it's not working for me, it's working against me, then this book will empower you to rebuild, reestablish a powerful relationship with yourself, others, and God, so that you can begin to live a better quality of life. And when I say better, I mean happier. This is what I really mean. And you can find that on Amazon. Over on Amazon, look up The Big 3 with Tylerjoestratton, and that book will come up. I think it might be like $20 or something like that. But it's a 260-page book, but it's designed in those 260 pages to help you to reestablish better relationships with yourself, others, and God. And let me tell you, the quality of life that you live directly reflects the relationships that you have with yourself, others, and God. And if you are struggling to feel good in life, it's because you're struggling in your relational life. No other area of your life matters more than the relationships in your life. So if you want to learn how to establish healthier and happier relationships with yourself, others, and God, be sure to check that out over on Amazon. But let's talk today a little bit about how to begin to move on from a heartbreak, a breakup, separation, divorce together. Boy, oh boy, where to begin? Well, the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic is because I've experienced my own heartbreak. I've experienced countless heartbreaks. I might be young, but I've lived through a lot of turmoil and emotional response to share a little bit of my story. So, my first broken experience began at the young age of 4 when my parents got a divorce. Now, that destroyed me as a kid because I was pinned against and put in the middle of my parents' separation. I was pinned against my dad. I was pinned against my mom. My mom was the bad person. My dad was the bad person. I couldn't figure out who to trust, and it disrupted me and brought a lot of anger to me, and it brought a lot of frustration and hate toward the world because when my parents were together, I would say we were financially well off. Everything was taken care of. Nothing we needed to worry about. We needed to worry about. I remember just, that's financially, that's relationally, everything just seemed to be okay and taken care of. And then when my parents decided to pursue their own heart-driven desires, egotistical desires of, cheating. My mom cheated. From my understanding of what happened, and there were a lot of drugs and alcohol involved on both sides of the party, and that is what ended up destroying my family back many, 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 many years ago. But now they are off on a better start, better place. But I remember that was the kickstart to my life's story, and that cast me into a lot of anger because relationships have been a constant heartbreaking struggle that have led me to many years of misery, counseling, thoughts of suicide, and depression. So not only did I experience a downfall in my parents' divorce that corrupted me, destroyed me, but I also experienced some sexual assault at a young age from somebody that I've now forgiven deeply and love deeply, because I understand that hurt people hurt people. In order for me to be hurt at such a young age, that individual must have been very hurt. And I lived through that, and then I lived through my own heartbreak with experiencing a high school sweetheart that I loved very much, cheated on me multiple times, and I knew she did. I didn't accept that she did, but I knew that she did. And holding on to her was a way for me to prove to myself that I was too weak to be alone. I didn't know how to be alone. So when she broke my heart, I tried to forget quickly, not forgive, but to forget quickly so that I could stay with her, because I thought that was what I needed to do in order to sustain happiness. I relied on someone else to bring me happiness, which was one of the biggest things that I did wrong. My entire encompassing identity of who I was built upon another person. So, if she was happy, I was happy. If she was upset, I was upset. If we were together, I was happy. If we weren't together, I was unhappy. Everything stemmed, my whole identity, everything that I believed that I was, and at the time, evolved around that relationship. And I didn't really build an identity that helped me to be independent and develop independent happiness, because I didn't think that was a thing. I thought true happiness stemmed from relationships, which they do, but it's independent, intertwined relationships, right? So back in 2015, I experienced a devastating heartbreak that casted me into another round of depression and suicide, the thoughts of suicide. I remember standing on top of a bridge wanting to take my own life, until this little tree started to push through the rocks of the railroad. And I was like, man, if that tree can withstand a hostile environment and grow, so can I. And I stepped down from the bridge, thankfully, and I started to pursue a purpose-filled life, a life of purpose, impact, and significance. That's where I started my journey. And today I want to help you uncover the 3 steps that you can begin to take right now, today, in order to move on. Because moving on can seem like an impossible task. It can seem like a task that is never going to take place. Although you are desiring it, doesn't mean it's going to happen, because you're probably either distracting yourself, you don't know what to do, or you're relying on someone else to help you through it, or you're doing absolutely nothing at all. Okay? And that cannot help you to move on and create a sustainable happiness after your heartbreak. But I'm telling you, my goal here at the Happy Heart Academy is all about helping you to rebuild emotional resilience. It's helping you to move on. It's helping you empower yourself to move through life's most powerful and dramatic incidents in life, where you're just like, holy smokes, I don't know if I can make it through this one, because life is full of ups and downs, and it's up to us to figure out how to navigate those ups and downs. And that's what you can find inside of the Happy Heart Academy. But, with all of that being said, I just want to let you know that I've been there. I've struggled a lot, emotionally, physically, financially. I've been uprooted. I moved by the age of probably 13. I probably moved 12 times. I was always moving around with my parents. I was always having to decipher between which parent is right and which parent is wrong. I didn't have very good relationships with myself and others because I was very angry, very hurt, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And that was me at a young age. And now, after understanding that in order to live a happier quality of life, you need to acknowledge and accept what you went through, that's where I want to begin. I want to help you to understand one of the first steps that you need to take in order to move on and create happiness after heartbreak is you've got to learn to acknowledge it and to accept what has happened to you. Now, how do you begin to do that? Well, that's a great question to ask yourself. And I believe that the way that you begin to do that is by spending more time in solitude and silence. Have you been sitting in enough solitude and silence in order for you to acknowledge and to accept what has happened to you? Or are you constantly distracting yourself, running away from all of your life's chaos by trying to find another relationship to hold on to or another person to distract you from the heartbreak? Are you trying to, guess your way through it, thinking that meditation and reading and writing and journaling is going to be the very thing that's going to help you? Some of these tools can be helpful, but ultimately they're not the only tools that are going to significantly push you forward the quickest. But I need you to understand that if you're stuck in your heartbreak pain, it's because you're not accepting and acknowledging the fact that what has happened was meant to happen for you, not to you. And that you're not the victim, but you're the victor. And that was hard for me to accept. But everything in life happens for you, not to you. And at the moment of heartbreak, it is a moment in time where the rug of life feels like it was stripped out from underneath of you. And you feel like you have to rebuild everything. I mean, everything. You have to rebuild your identity, finances, home life, your work life, your kid life, your relational life. You got to rebuild everything. And that can seem like an insurmountable mountain that you cannot climb alone. And that's why I've created this academy called the Happy Heart Academy, so you don't have to do it alone. That's why I've created online courses. That's why I've written books. That's why I coach people one-on-one to navigate these muddy waters of life to help them to win in the next chapter of their life. And there's a strategy that you can take to implement in your life. But when it comes to feeling stuck, it's because you're feeling stuck. It's an emotional experience that you've got to learn to navigate and to deal with. So when we start talking about how do you begin to move on, you got to start to understand that you've got to accept and acknowledge what has happened to you. Then you have to move on to letting go of what has been accepted and acknowledged. And letting go can sometimes be hard because people think that it's abstract or something that you can't do. Letting go seems to be like an easy thing. It's easier said than done. But let me tell you, you've got to, in order to let go, and this is what I teach in my course. Now I'm going to give you just a little bit of an insight of behind what first module is all about in letting go. Well, first thing is if you need to let go of something, you need to know what you're letting go of. So do you know what you need to let go of? Maybe you think it's a person, but let me tell you really what it is. It's an emotion. It's an emotion that's staying stuck, that you're giving intentional thought behind, conscious thought behind on a regular basis, which is continuously fueling the fire of negativity in your mind, right, in that emotional experience. And one of the things that helped me to let go of that emotional experience is I allowed myself to sit in solitude and silence and allowed myself to identify the emotion that I was holding on to the most and the story that caused that emotion, right? So like if you think about how emotion works, emotion, my friend, works in this manner. If you've never heard about this before, this is going to change your life because once you understand where emotions come from, you can then navigate. You can begin to navigate the muddy waters of re-engaging in a better emotion in life. So an emotion comes from a thought. A thought comes from a question. So here's how this works. If you're currently stuck in an emotion, you got to identify what emotion that is. And if you need help, once again, that's something I help people with, is the awareness, self-awareness of the emotion that you're trapped in. But if you also need help, there's a lot of tools, resources, and books. One of the resources that you can check out is the emotional wheel, which will help you to pinpoint the emotion that you're stuck on. You could probably just Google it, I'm sure, and it would come up. It's a colorful wheel full of emotion, and you start with one emotion, and you finally narrow it down to the main emotion that you're currently experiencing, or maybe 3 emotions that you're experiencing, but you don't usually feel more than 3 at once, for the most part. And with that being said, once you acknowledge and accept the emotion, you got to understand where the emotion comes from. Well, emotions come from questions. When you ask yourself poor quality questions, you get a poor quality answer, and that poor quality answer stems from a poor quality thought, which that thought triggers an emotion. Okay, so right now you might be asking yourself some poor quality questions like, what would life be like I know with them if I were with them? That's a poor quality question. Another question is, why me? Another poor question is, wonder what they're currently doing right now. All of these questions trigger a negative thought, which triggers a negative emotion, right? And so if you want to change your emotional experience, you need to change the question, which changes the thought, which changes the emotion, which is super powerful. It's very powerful to acknowledge that, because let me tell you, if I were to ask you a question such as, take me back to a time, can you take me back to a time where you were fulfilled and happy and at peace? Your mind would then begin to think about a time in which you experienced peace, happiness, and fulfillment. And then the practice becomes, will I allow myself enough time to really feel that emotional experience by sitting in solitude, silence, and maybe marinating and meditating on it, right? So if you want to win in your emotional life, you need to win in the life of questions. And when you start to empower yourself with more positive questions, which I have in my course, it's the power hour, the victory hour in the morning. It's these questions that can help you to really win from within by asking yourself specific questions that can help you make you feel a little bit happier in life. It's not about just sitting in gratitude. That's not what that's really about. Gratitude's great, but it's not the main thing that's going to help you to move through the past pain. So once again, you can find that at that resource at happyheartacademy.com/moving on, and you can get access to a free masterclass training as well as access to my course if that's something you're interested in. But let me tell you, you are worth investing into you. And if you're not investing into you, it's because you don't feel like you're worth investing into, or you're like, I don't have the financial resources. I've been there, I understand. But let me tell you, now is the time to invest into you because you believe that you deserve to win. And if you are not willing to invest into you, then why should someone else be willing to invest into you? If you're not willing to spend a couple dollars on yourself because you can't navigate your finances well enough, then my friend, why should somebody else? You get what you are, not what you want out of life. Okay, so hear me out. If you're not willing to give love, you should not be willing to just receive love and take love. If you're not willing to give happiness, you probably won't be happy. If you are not willing to invest into you and spend time by yourself, then why should someone else feel like spending time with you is such a great win? If you don't think spending time with you is such a great win, why should someone else feel that way, right? Listen, you've got to win from it within. You've got to take control and responsibility of your life and your emotional life, and you can begin to do that by understanding that the first thing that you need to really focus in on is accepting and acknowledging what has happened so that you can let go of it. And once you begin to process and let go of it and you feel like you're at peace, like you've rid your closet from past clothing that you no longer wear, that no longer serves you, that you no longer fit into, that you no longer like, that you no longer enjoy, your closet becomes full of emptiness. And once you have an empty vessel, you can begin to step to rebuild the relationship with yourself. Now, when it comes to rebuilding the relationship with yourself, you got to understand how a relationship is built. First thing is you got to understand that a relationship with yourself begins by spending time with yourself, intentional, quality time with yourself, by taking yourself out for solitude and silence to begin to understand who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want, and you think about how you do that so naturally when it comes to dating someone, right? You go out on dates, you spend quality time with them, you invite them over, you hang out with them, you get to know them, you ask them questions. You got to do the same thing with yourself. And once you get to know yourself, right, what you like and what you don't like, you can start to build a program for yourself, an actionable game plan to help you to begin to build a better, healthier level of love, of acceptance, of acknowledgement, of adoration, of appreciation, of a more powerful identity that is in alignment or congruent to who you know you want to be and who you know you are, right? Let me tell you, the quickest way to rebuild a better relationship with yourself is to take a pen and paper and ultimately write out who it is you want to be, how you want to feel, what you want to do on a daily basis, and start to live in alignment to that as best that you can. Because when you do what you say you're going to do and you show up how you say you're going to show up, you'll start to live more congruently. And with congruency comes confidence, and with confidence comes happiness. And that's what you deserve to experience. So when I started to rebuild a relationship with myself, I knew that the first step I needed to take was, well, I need to spend time with myself. Well, I don't like spending time with myself. I don't know what to do. How do I spend quality time with myself? Well, you can pick up books, resources, podcasts, seminars, webinars. You can do so many different things. You can use ChatGPT to figure that out. You can use a coach, you can use a consultant, you can use a therapist. But let me tell you, you got to work on your entire vessel. That means your mindset, heart set, health set, soul set. And if you don't know what those are, I highly recommend you go over to happyheartacademy.com/moving on, and there you can begin to understand how to build your entire self back up, because you got to win in your mindset, which is your thoughts. You got to win in your heart set, which is your emotion, your health set, which is your physical body, and then your soul set, which is your emotional connectivity to the universe or God in a manner that is fulfilling and helpful and impactful and supportive. So if you want to win and rebuild a relationship with yourself, you need to focus on your internal empires, your mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, and establish an actual game plan of daily activity on a consistent and regular basis that will allow you to feel happier about yourself. Listen, you might be doing some of these things here or there, right? Maybe every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, you might spend some quality time with yourself, maybe work out, maybe read a good personal development book, maybe establish some meditation time, maybe reconnect with God in some way, shape, or form. But the problem is you're not doing it consistently enough for long enough to reap the reward or the harvest. It takes time. You have to have discipline and accountability to rebuild a relationship with yourself. But once again, you can learn more about that in my course, Happiness After Heartbreak. You can find that over on happyheartacademy.com if you're interested. So once you begin to accept and acknowledge what has happened to you, and you begin to let go and process through the emotion by identifying your emotion and then allowing yourself, once you identify it, you got to use that negative emotion. When you experience it, you got to allow yourself to experience it without judgment. Just allow it to be, being like, hey, I'm okay. I don't feel the greatest today, but that's okay. That's part of my story. That's part of the journey. That's just what I'm experiencing. It's okay. I don't judge the tree that I'm passing. I don't judge the weather. I'm just experiencing what life is giving me because I can't control the weather. I can't control the tree. I can't control sometimes my emotion. They just come and go, but I've got to allow them to go. How do you let them go? You don't allow yourself to sustain thought, intentional, conscious thought on the very thought or the very emotion that you're experiencing. When you experience a negative emotion, we get caught. It becomes like this spider web, and we get caught into it, right? And we stay in there by continuously thinking about it over and over and over and over and over again. And what does that do for us? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, once again, once you experience a negative thought, what has helped me significantly in order to let go and move on from it is understanding when I experience a negative thought, I act as if it's a trigger. What is a trigger? A trigger is a moment in time. It's a click. It's a snap. It's a moment in time when I recognize that I'm experiencing a negative thought, and then I change the direction of the thought by implementing some systems and processes and tools that can help me to reframe, to rethink, to refocus my energy and my consciousness on something more impactful and powerful that I want. And a quick tool that I want to express and give to you today that I talk about in the course is you need a happiness photo folder or a happiness video folder in your cell phone, so that anytime that you experience a negative thought, you can turn to the photos, you can turn to the videos that can re-spark and re-engage the positive memories of the past moments that you once had. And you allow yourself to marinate, meditate, experience those to the point on which you no longer are experiencing the negative thought. And you do that as many times as you need to, but you need to act as if when you experience a negative emotion, you know exactly what you're going to do when you experience it. You can't let your mind run rampant. You have to give yourself an opportunity to think of something else, more positive. And where can you begin? Well, they say photos are worth 1,000 words and videos must be worth 10,000 then. So create what is called a happiness folder inside of your photos, a folder inside of your phone, and allow yourself to remember those positive moments in life. So When you begin to let go and you rebuild a relationship with yourself, the last thing that you really need to focus in on is, in order to move on from where you are, which is where you don't want to be, to where you want to go, which is where you want to be, you have to create a hope-filled future, a vision for yourself that you can begin to implement into your daily life that will help you to get to where you want to go. If you want to catapult yourself out of the pain, you've got to cast a new hope-filled future, because everything that you feel like you lost that you can never have again is actually incorrect thinking. And it's a disempowering thinking, because what I realized is everything that I felt like I lost in my relationship with my high school sweetheart, I realized I can have that all again, but with somebody else. I only lost her, but I can have everything that I want with someone else. If I had it with her, I can have it with someone else. I can actually have better, and I have created better. And coming from a place, in my life where I was living in a trailer park under financial stress with my father and brother, where we could hardly pay for fuel for the winter months to heat our home, where we had to sell a lot of different material things or my dad had to work, doubles and overtimes in order to fuel our heating tank. I growing up in that environment, and where there's a lot of drugs and alcohol and a lot of emotional turmoil and a lot of pain and suffering and struggle. In that time, I envisioned a hope-filled future. My vision at the time was I wanted to become a best-selling author. Now, granted, I was illiterate. I couldn't read, write, or do math. I remember going through many, many, many years of tutoring, so my belief in myself was super low. I never thought I could write and publish a book. Heck, I didn't even know where to begin or how to begin. But that didn't stop me. I said one day I wanted to be and give back the very gift that I was given when I read the book, The 15 Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill, which changed my entire life. And I didn't know a book could change a life until I read that book. And when I read that book, at the end of the book, I realized I wanted to do exactly what Napoleon Hill did. Learn from the experience that he lived through and gift that to other people through written word. So I wrote the book, The Big Three. Not my best work, but hey, I did it, became a best-selling author. There's a lot of things that I would change looking back. I wrote this back in 2018. Now it's 2024, and man, oh man, would I change a couple of things. Maybe in the way that I wrote it, I don't know, but I wrote it and I gave it away and became a best-selling author, and that's huge. And then I created a course, I created a podcast, I created a community of individuals who are wanting to build the emotional resilience to move powerfully and confidently through life, because I learned what from my personal experiences, I learned from other people's experiences, and now I get to share it with you, and I'm still learning every single day. I don't think I've ever figured out, nor do I think I'm an expert in it, but it's a topic that I know that I want to spend most of my life thinking about and helping other people navigate through. And that was part of the vision back in 2015. Part of the vision also was to get out of the trailer park. It was a dump, and I felt like I deserved so much more. And here we are in 2024. My wife and I built a brand new home together, and I'm now happily married. I've been with her for almost going on 7 years now, and we are happily married, living in our home that we visualized together, that we wanted. We have everything that we want materially within our home, and we're super grateful and thankful for that. But that couldn't come to fruition until I got very clear on who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to make my money, and how I wanted to contribute and bring more significance to my life. But that vision casted me out of the heartbroken pain that I would sit with, because I didn't have a vision to take me out of it. So you need a vision to take you out of your heartbreak pain. If you don't know how to create a vision, that's part of my course, or I can coach you one-on-one, or you can join the Happy Heart Academy community. We can work together. I can go on live on a monthly regular basis, and there you can get experience and knowledge, skill set to begin to build vision for your life and for your family and for your future. Because talking about a broken kid, I was broken spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. Literally, my dad was maybe making the most, maybe $13 an hour, raising two kids. Grew up with poverty. Grew up with a lot of mental health issues, with depression and thoughts of suicide because of the environment that I was raised in. A lot of anger. I grew up in an environment that would tell me that I was supposed to be maybe an alcoholic and drug addict. If anybody else were to write my future, this wouldn't be the future that they were casting over me. Let me tell you that. But let me tell you, no one else writes your future besides yourself. And so what I currently have is because of what I've created it to be. And you can create it too. You can get yourself unstuck. You can move on toward a hope-filled future. You can create a beautiful home environment, beautiful work environment, beautiful career, beautiful mission for yourself. Your life, you are a creator. God created you to create. And part of the reason why you feel so stuck and like you're dying and like, life is not significant, important, and powerful, impactful is because you're not creating. God gave you life to create. You are a creator, my friend. And you need to go out there and create something beautiful for yourself because this life is yours to live and to live fully, love openly, and to make a massive difference. So the 3 steps that you need to take in order to move on are, number 1, you got to learn how to let go and acknowledge of the past pain that you experience. You got to let go and acknowledge. Number 2, you got to rebuild back a relationship with yourself. And number 3, you got to create and cast a hope-filled future. My dear friend, I hope that you found this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting. And if you did, be sure to share it out with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends. Put it out in the world. Give the gift of knowledge. Give the gift of love. Tell them that you're thinking about them. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast at. And until next time, my dear friend, my name is Tylerjoestratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home.